Hello everyone, welcome to the 11th episode of Choosing the Red Pill with Rajesh and Omer. And today we are going to discuss a topic of utmost national importance, the education, of course, the reform in the Indian education system that was long overdue. And today we are going to discuss the National Education Policy 2020, which has sparked a debate. So we will be discussing the merits, demerits, and hopefully arrive at some conclusions how practical and feasible it is to produce employable youth in the country. So today we have Rimjhim Gour with us. She's a journalist working with many news organizations, also providing intellectual support to many politicians across party lines. And she also comments on interfaith harmony. And so she has a wide range of interests in geopolitics as well. So nice to have you here, Rimjhim. How are you?
Thanks a lot, Omer. I'm really honored to be here on Choosing the Red Pill, and I'm really looking forward to have this conversation with you and Rajesh. As we talked about the new education policy, which was, as you said, long overdue, it has many revolutionary changes that were long awaited, but at the same time, there are many controversial things about it as well. So before we start with it, I'll just give a quick overview about what exactly does it entail in a broad way. So the very first change that it suggests is that till now the schools had 10 plus 2 system, which will now be changed to 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 system, which also includes the preschooling. Other than that, till primary school, the students will be given the basic education. The medium of teaching will be their regional language or their mother tongue, which happens to be the most highlighted point of the entire new education policy. Other than that, now every degree course will come with an exit plan. MPhil has been dropped from the entire course and one does not need it in order to pursue PhD and so on and so forth. There are many changes that have been there. So let's begin with it. I'm really looking forward to have a fruitful conversation.
Great, good to see you, Rimjhim here, and welcome.
Thank you,
So
Raj.
let's begin whatever you, Omer.
Okay, so now, thank you for giving a brief introduction about what NEP is all about. So let's just dive straight into it and
Yeah.
discuss the merits and demerits of what it looks like. So first of all, the first point you mentioned is that we have done away with the 10 plus 2 system. So
Hmm.
it looks like 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, if I'm not wrong. So what do you think, in your opinion, Rimchim? What are the fundamental changes that it will bring? Do you think it is going to be productive that we have exams in class third and fifth and so on and not consecutively? So, do you think, what are your views on this?
The very first thing that I think has been changed in 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 is the inclusion of preschooling. Because as the time has changed, a lot of things are there that needs to be learned during preschooling, so that there's a prepping up, that a student who is going to start with a very exhaustive education should be mentally and in a way prepared to go for it. So I think that's a very positive change. Other than that, what the policy also said that before 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, before the education starts, every parent would be provided and we will be trained about how do they need to go about the entire education and how do they need to train the students. So I find that one thing very important. Other than you talked about how the pattern of exams will be changing. So I personally think that it's going to help students, but at the same time, we'll have to wait and watch about how it pans out before I can really comment upon it. And I think I would want to know Rajesh's views as well on this because we earlier had a word about it that, yeah.
Okay, so I think, earlier what used to happen with 10 plus 2 was that the government policies like NCRT that used to formulate the curriculum would only work on the 10 plus 2. It never made the curriculum from the preparatory classes. I think what changes now with 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 is that NCRT or the other competent authorities, the institutions will suggest the curriculum for the preparatory classes as well. And that's the biggest change that has happened with the 5+3, because initial classes nobody was bothered. So now what the change that will happen is, from the preparatory classes, when the child goes suddenly to first class, then he wouldn't require to change his complete thinking process because he's going to a different school or different methodology of teaching or whatever. It's the same pattern of teaching that will continue for him. So, but Rimjhim, there is one more change that they have done, which is in the higher studies, in the colleges and all, and the universities. What they have brought in, or what they have proposed, is that the interdisciplinary courses will be a norm now, rather than having a fixated arts versus science and the commerce or something like that. And I believe that it will begin at the school level, because even the school in 11th and 12th class, we have those three streams. So while they have also suggested that the colleges and the universities will have interdisciplinary courses, I believe that it will start at the school level or from the 11th or 12th. So do you think that children will be also be able to, in 11th and 12th, will also be able to take interdisciplinary courses, like for example, physics and baking together, or psychology and coding together? If
Yeah.
yes, then how would it help them?
I think it is very much related to how our brain works, and it's all about the holistic development of a student. Because even if you go back to ancient education system that existed around the world, they followed a very stringent path, a path where your left hemisphere of the brain and the right hemisphere of the brain both would be balanced at some point of time. What's happening today is that a student is very much aware about what's happening in physics, so there's like a information overload at the analytical side, but that person totally misses out on the right hemisphere that is on the art side. So taking a minor, for example, as you said that I'm studying physics, but I take my minor in baking. So that won't be like a too much of burden on me because it's a minor. And any which way people do it, like they go for entrepreneurship with commerce or arts. So it's anyway like a little bit of there was anyway there. So that would, I feel, is going to ensure that there's an overall holistic development of a student. Blurring the lines between science, commerce, humanities is going to help us in that. Yeah. What do you think about the same, Omar?
I think when we mention about the specific courses, right, the arts and science. So I personally think that when a student is given the choice to choose any vocational course, any skill, or including the course that he's taking, so because he is doing it out of his will, and because he is choosing the things that he wants to excel at, I think it only increases his ability to do best at what he is doing. So I think it is a welcome step, personally, that if there are multiple skills like Rajesh mentioned that, for example, our student is studying psychology or cooking with it. So I think the real life is a world of multitasking in itself, and it's not like. And we also mentioned that if AI comes, artificial intelligence comes, so the people who are only useful in one particular field, they will be replaced more easily. So I think it is important that we excel at multiple things at once, and our next generation excels at multiple things at once. So I think that is a welcome step. However,
Or at least if they
we
don't excel in plan A, they always have a plan B then.
yes, they should have a plan B. Otherwise, they should not be left with no plans if once one thing doesn't work out. So
Yeah.
that is my take on it on that. However, I would like to ask Rajesh and then to Rimjhim the same question, that one thing that you wish was a part of NEP and what you find missing, that there could have been something more.
Rimji, would you like to take a go first?
Sure, I would love to. According to me, they've taken a very revolutionary step about including or introducing coding from sixth standards onwards. But I find a challenge over here Because according to the new policy, they are saying that the student will be taught, the medium of teaching would be the regional language, and English has not been included. So, how can a student be able to learn coding if he or she in place is not that much literate in English? I was really thinking about it, and I don't know how are they going to face that challenge or counter it. So, this one thing really bothers me about the entire new education policy. What about you, Rajesh?
They said coding will begin from class 6th, right?
Yeah.
And the first 5 years is basically end at class 3.
Mhm.
So from 3 to 6, he can learn English, right? And then
But
get
that's
into
a lot. Like, do you think 3 years are enough to school someone in English? Because we've been there and it did not, like, just imagine.
Yeah,
It took
I
us
mean, I understand what you mean.
first, second,
Yeah,
third,
all three
fourth, and
years
then.
to coding in regional language then.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't have an answer to that question really, Omar, because I mean, I'm not able to imagine what they could have missed. According to me, I'm not saying that they have done best. I'm saying they have done quite well, and I would rather little wait and watch to formulate my opinion on what really could more they have done. Because my children have always studied in the Cambridge board, and because I approached both CBSC and Cambridge boards to see the modus operandi in how they teach. And I always figured that in the NCRT or the CBSE, they always teach you, they always just teach you rote learning. And the focus is always on getting marks,
Yeah.
or beating the other children. It's not about a wholesome growth. Whereas the other boards, Cambridge, or there is international board as well. In those boards, what they don't teach you what to teach, what to learn. They teach you how to learn, and that's a very big shift in the complete mental faculties of a child where he develops critical thinking. They don't give you homeworks there. They don't burden you. You don't have to carry big bags to school. You keep your books in the school, it doesn't matter. So I always found those systems much better, which take a wholesome growth of a child in the mind rather than just the rote learning and getting marks. Okay, Thursday is a class test, you have to score 10 out of 10. If you score 7 or 8, then you're finished. I mean, because 90% of children have scored 10. So that kind of the attitude that has always been there in Indian education, I am still grasping exactly what the changes will be. And on good paper, they look good, but let's see how it goes.
So
But
I think I would like to add here that, of course, I agree with what Rimjhim said, that when it comes to coding and regional languages, so it is going to be a huge challenge for the students as well. Now, another thing that I felt sort of missing, or
Omer, sorry, I just remembered one thing. I just said it in a jest, coding in the regional languages. But do you remember just a week back, we have received huge investment from Google, who announced that they will make content in regional languages for children to study. So I'm sure it has something to do with this only.
possibly, I agree. And but another challenge that we will have to face is that I have been associated with education sector for many years, teaching at Hyderabad and Mumbai and Delhi. And one thing I have noticed is that there is a lack of good quality teachers also who are qualified and equipped to teach. Now, when we are teaching coding since class 6, so do we have enough teachers who can teach coding from class 6 onwards? Or does NEP also include a workshop for teachers as well? That should also be considered, that we are producing enough good teachers as well. So that is also a very important part, I believe.
Yeah, I
And
completely
along,
okay, sorry, Rimjin, please go ahead.
I was saying, along with the teachers, it's also about the facilitation of enough numbers of machines, because that has always been a problem in India, that things don't reach thing that I also am concerned about is how are they going to execute and at the same time facilitate each student with the computer, because you know that's the problem in India since always, the execution. So yeah, it's
Yes,
that kind of
exactly.
level of education, that's an issue.
So there
So
has to be a workshop or something so that teachers are also well equipped to deal with this. And of course, the another challenge is that English thing because no, not only about coding. If the in the formative years, if a student is not taught English language, and we all know that even if we like it or not, English is a medium of in a globalized world, we are connected with the world also, and all the Indian states are also connected with each other through English language because India has so many languages. There are migrants, there are people in the Air Force and the Army. They get transferred from one place to one city to another within few years or few months sometimes. So their children, they will have a hard time keeping up with all the regional languages in all the different states. So I think that is a very huge challenge that is going to be, and somehow
yeah, I
it has to be
agree.
countered.
I agree with you, Omer. 2 points that you brought up, and they're very valid. One, I'll take both the points one by one. First, whether we have adequate teachers or not. The clear answer is no. It's not just about the teachers that we have currently. The ratio of student versus teacher we have right now is also pathetic. I mean, there is one teacher for like 50 students, which is not
Yeah.
the adequate ratio that should be. So, so it's not just about the changes in the changes in the education policy because of which we'll need more teachers. It's also that even following the previous policy, we still have backlog of requiring more teachers. So yes, there's a huge requirement for teachers and qualified teachers, but I guess some burden will be eased on because right now we used to think that all these rural teachers are not able to teach kids in English or whatever our standards were according to our standards. Now even those, but some teachers will be available to accommodate in the new policy as well, because these teachers were also more comfortable teaching in the regional language rather than English. So they were not able to teach children properly, and they used to also lag behind. But anyways, that's beside the point. And but yes, uh, largely speaking, there is a huge requirement for teachers, and I'm sure in soon coming days, right now it is just the formulation of policy that has happened, and they have announced it. It's not implemented yet, and this is going to be implemented from the next session next year, which is basically March, April. So between that, I'm sure they will formulate all the processes and how to go about it. What are their plans? What are their requirements? And in the coming times, we'll see ads coming up for requirement of teachers for all the all the changes that they have made. So that is one. Yes, there is a huge requirement for teachers, and they have to be filled up to be able to follow up on this policy. Yes, Umar, that's the second point that you brought up was also very important, which is about what happens to the migrants or parents who are in the transferable jobs, keep moving from one place to the other. How do they cope up in the regional languages? Because if they don't learn English at one place and they are, let's say, for example, a child of 4 years is studying in a preparatory class in Karnataka and his parents move to Delhi, suddenly how will he cope up with the new language that he studies here? I think government, I read something about it. I think they have thought about it. They said that the schools that come under central government, which are like Kendriya Vidyalaya and some other schools, they will be teaching English also. And even in the regional the policy that they have come about is that they want the schools preferably wherever possible. That's the exact quote unquote words. Preferably wherever possible till class fifth, but preferably till class eighth, regional languages should be taught in the schools. So the plan that they have come out with, that a school should teach three languages to a child. The at least two of them should be native languages.
Yes,
Now,
and
two native languages means one could be Hindi or one could be the regional language, but there has to be three languages total, two native and one. The third one will be English, which in some schools will be left out, but most schools will have it. I don't think the migrant or the transferable people transferring from one state to other will face
So it is
too much
not
of a problem.
so.
All they will do is they'll give up on the regional language, yes, but it will not stop their learning because they would be learning English there as well. They will be learning English there here as well. So they can still continue the same flow of
So they are
education.
Okay.
basically not making it mandatory. They are not doing away with English completely. It's just an optional thing, basically.
Yeah, and so this brings me
I
to a question. Rimjhim, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, so Rimjhim, I wanted to ask you, and it's concerning to this only. A lot of criticism of the new education policy that I've read online is saying that the same policy was followed by in Bengal earlier, and they abolished English for the primary classes, and it has not worked out well. And same thing, how if same education policy has not worked in one state, what makes people think that it will work all over India? My take is, my take is that it was compulsorily abolished in Bengal, whereas here it is not compulsory abolished. It is merely a suggestion, preference, and nobody has abolished English. Even English can be there if the school or the state wants it to. That's my take on it. What do you think, and what do you think, Omer?
According to me, as you said, that the medium of teaching has changed. And at the same time, as you talked about the three language policy, so English stays. It's not like that English has been completely done away with English. English is there. Secondly, the thing is, as you talked about Bengal, so one thing I can say, I would love to say over here is that until unless the execution happens, we can't exactly comment upon whether it will be a total failure or not. But as you said, that the things are not very hard-lined over there here, and things are very, I mean, these are preferences and suggestions. So that's
Yeah.
what happened. But in Bengal, everything was very strict and compulsory. That okay, we've abolished English, everyone needs to follow it. Here, it's like a preference, and there will be choices given to the specific institutes that are found. So when you give that kind of leeway, the institutes also get a chance to evaluate what's going to work out best for them. So I guess that flexibility will help this education system because the rigidity, of course, did not work out for Bengal, and it's any day not going to work out for the country as well. So yeah,
I
flexibility
completely agree with
coexist.
what you said, Rimjim. What do you think, Omer?
I also think I agree that since it is not compulsorily banned and mandated, so I think it promotes. I think the aim is not to ban English but to promote regional languages. That is what I understand. But yes, the importance of English has to be highlighted because not only within India but globally it is important. Now, I would like to ask Rimjhim and then Rajesh before I answer it myself. One thing that makes you uh, really excited about NEP 2020 that you might have been looking forward to for a long time and why you welcome it. So, what is that one thing that you were looking forward to, Rimjhim?
Actually, this comes from a very personal experience. So I am a dropout, and I dropped out of my BS pursue my course in journalism. So I really welcome the exit plan they've come up with, that if someone is pursuing a degree course and if that person, because of some familial, health, financial, or other issues, plan to drop out in first year, that person would be awarded with certification. If that person drops out in second year, he or she would be provided with a diploma. And if, of course, that person completes with a degree, then, of course, that person will have a degree. I wish this was there earlier. So I would have at least held a diploma. And the years that I invested in learning that particular stream, they could have been acknowledged formally by the board. So I really welcome this. Other than that, there's another thing that I really like about is that's about they have cancelled the MPhil now, that a person can directly go for the PhD. It's a very welcoming plan because any country which needs its own development, researchers are very much important. And most of the times, I could see that many people did not go and pursue PhD further just because of the, reason because they find it the road very tedious and hectic to walk. So I really like this. Other than that, there's another thing that I really like about is that's about they have cancelled the MPhil now, that a person can directly go for the PhD. It's a very welcoming plan because any country which needs its own development, researchers are very much important. And most of the times, I could see that many people did not go for But now this would welcome a lot of research work in India that would, of course, put us in frontliners after 50 or 60 years. So I think these two things really, really excite me about the current new education policy. Yeah. Over to
Okay,
you,
Rajesh.
Rajesh. You?
Okay, one thing that really excites me about new education policy is the possibility of interdisciplinary courses for a child or for a student. I really think that is the future because uh, I really think about, like for example, fields like bioethics. How can somebody get into bioethics without knowing biology and ethics together? Or
Yeah.
philosophy of science. How can somebody know philosophy of science without knowing philosophy and science both? So these are the things. Interdisciplinary thing is the future. You can't. There are a lot of things. There is AI that is coming. There is all these things are coming up. The new technologies and new frontiers that we are going to reach over to. But we can't really do that because there is a need for people who understand both sides. We have to formulate new ethics, new checks and balances. So how does anybody do that, if he doesn't know both sides of the coin? So it's really important, I think, the interdisciplinary courses, and that's really exciting for me. One thing and the only thing that worries me is it looks very good on paper, and anything that looks
Yeah.
good on paper, my horns go up. And so I will, and with BJP knowing, they always fuck up at the implementation part, whether it's demonetization, GST, anything. So it looks really great on paper. I will wait for the implementation to give any marks to it. That's the only thing
Okay,
that worries me.
so okay, yeah, I agree that there is, it depends on the implementation. Now, one thing that really excites me and why I welcome it is, as Rimjhim said, it has a personal experience. So I also have not so good personal experiences that even as a kid, I hated that memorizing things and rote learning part. And even as a student, I used to wonder why we cannot do the problem solving attitude, or that should be there. Now today, when I see that the problem solving, the critical thinking, discussion based, analysis based examinations are being proposed, so I welcome it with open arms. And that rote learning thing is a thing of the past. Last month I wrote about it that this rote learning thing should be done away with, because it only eats up the parts of our memory, our brain capacity, and slows us down. And after the advent of the internet, it is ridiculous to force students to just cram up things in their head which they can look up. So I think that rote learning thing is very problematic, that I hated. And this critical thinking, and so it will improve the overall strata of the society. When students will come out, they will know what critical thinking is, what discussion looks like. When we go on social media, we see that people do not know what discussion means, what a debate looks like, right? There has to be, I don't know if they're including, but there has to be a talk about logical fallacies. I don't know if they're teaching it or not, but that is very important. What is ad hominem, what is red herring, and they should not be encouraged while debating. So these things should be there in our curriculum. And another thing that excites me is that we all know that artificial intelligence or uh, apps, computer apps are the future. So if our students are learning coding from a young age, by the time they are 25, they will be making up new apps, and we will not have to depend on China or any other country for new apps, and we will be sovereign and self-dependent. So I think that is very, very important, and that should be the goal. So I hope but once again, we come back to the implementation part. So let's see how it goes. And I hope Remchim has something to add. I think we have had all the merits and demerits we have discussed. So in conclusion, if first Remchim and then Rajesh, if something you have to add.
Looking at the new education policy as we discussed, it's actually a win-win for the school students and the college students as well. And there were many things that we, the millennials, are definitely going to be jealous of and would pray that this was included much earlier. But we are very happy. I'm very happy that this is happening, and it is going to shape the future of the students, like right from say they are like right from the very early age, and which is a good thing. And looks like the new education policy is an answer to three idiots. So yeah, that's what I have to say. But let's wait and watch how things pan out, how is the implementation, and what happens after 20 years. So yeah, over to you,
Yeah,
Rajesh.
I,
What
I
do you have to
agree. I
say
agree
about
with both of you wholeheartedly, and I'm excited. And it's a mixed feeling right now: excitement and nervousness both. I'm excited about what looks on the paper, and nervous about how it will pan out. Whether there'll be enough teachers or not, whether they'll be able to implement it properly, whether they'll allow the calculators in school or not. In my when I was a child. Uh, the best child in the class was somebody who knew the table of 17. 17 multiplies 7? Fuck, I don't even remember now at this age.
because
But
Sigmund Freud apparently said that memory is
and those are the
directly
kind of
proportional
things,
to
that have been keeping this NCRT and CBSE behind the other world,
yeah,
whole of the world. I mean,
definitely.
what today we use smartphones. Nobody even remembers their wives or their children or their parents' phone number. You don't have to. There was a time then when you had to remember everybody's phone number. You knew. Now you don't remember. You just know the name and you go to the name and you click the name. You don't remember the phone numbers ever. So similarly, why does a child has to remember a table of 17 when in the future he has to build the apps? No, he doesn't need to. So they should be allowed the calculator. So, I mean, I think that kind of change is coming and is exciting, but I'm nervous about how. I hope no kind of again old traditional thinking goes into as BJP is prone to doing. I hope no Ganesha surgery is happening in the middle of all this thing. Head transplant of Ganesha and all that. But yeah, let's hope everything goes well. So my conclusion is, yeah, everything till now it looks exciting. Yes.
Yeah, that calculator thing reminds me that I wrote in an article a few weeks back that it's almost as if the education system is not aware that calculator and the internet has arrived. They should be aware that it has happened. So let's incorporate it into the education. But yes, it has been an amazing discussion. The merits and the demerits of NEP we have discussed. And thank you once again, Rimjhim, for joining us. It has been a pleasure. And if you want to tell our viewers what you do and if how they can follow you if they want to, so please do that. And thank you once again.
Thanks, Omer, and thanks, Rajesh. If you want to follow me, and I do a lot of political analysis, geopolitical analysis. I talk about religion, and I try to give a 360 view about the current happenings. And if you want to follow on that, if you want to criticize, promote, view, share it, please do come. You're welcome. My Instagram handle is @rimjhim.gour.com. That is @RIMJHIMGOUR. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rimjim. Thank you for coming. It was a wonderful discussion we had on this new exciting topic. And yeah, thank you, Omer, as always. Thank you. Thank you, viewers, for watching Choosing the Red Pill. Hope you liked it. Click the likes and share as much as you can. Thank you so much. Bye bye, guys.